Where is Daredevil?
I'm right here. Don't miss the return of Marvel Television's Daredevil Born Again.
So what's next?
I feel liberated.
We're gonna take this city back.
Over medicated.
In an all-new season, now streaming only on Disney+.
They're hunting us. It's time we started hunting them.
I can work with that.
This should be tons of fun.
Marvel Television's Daredevil Born Again, now streaming only on Disney+.
This episode is brought to you by State Farm. You know those friends who support your preference for podcasts over music on road trips? That's the energy State Farm brings to insurance. With over 19,000 local agents, they help you find the coverage that fits your needs, so you can spend less time worrying about insurance and more time enjoying the ride. Download the State Farm app or go online at statefarm.com. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Comcast is delivering extraordinary experiences in live sports. Through the incredible broadcast and storytelling from NBC, innovative and personalized viewing features on Xfinity and Peacock, and the country's most reliable Wi-Fi, viewers can enjoy every game-changing play faster and more seamlessly than ever. All on a network built to deliver unforgettable moments as close to live as possible. The ultimate experience for the American sports fan. Learn more at ComcastCorporation.com/sports.
And welcome to How Is a Podcast. It's Gav and you are joining us today for a very special episode. We're on location. We've decided to come out for a pint and do this one because why not, really? I thought, well, it'll be the British summertime. It'll be blazing sun. We'll be sat here with our shades on, chilling, and it's windy, it's grey, it's miserable. So I guess it is the British summertime. And today we are going to be doing something that we haven't done before, which is raising our unpopular Sunderland opinions. And the man to my left, who I'm going to introduce first, has got a list as long as my arm. It's James Nichols. Hello, mate.
Hello, Gav. How's it going?
Yeah, it's not bad. You don't have to grab me mic, by the way. I'll do that. You know, you tell you've been out the game a while. That's what it is.
It's been a few years since I've been on, so it's good to be back.
Yeah, and you've done your research. It looks good.
I always have a long list of unpopular opinions. It's the one thing I'm good at, talking shite about things that I don't like.
Well, we're going to see what you've got. Also with us, and he was about to take a mouthful of his beer, so I'm going to go to him. I wasn't going to, but you know, as he was about to take a drink, I'm just going to be a dick. It's Kelvin. Hello, mate.
Hello. Looking forward to this one.
Yeah. You're having a bit of a day out in Sunderland today. You've been seeing the sights, haven't you?
I have. I've been to Jackie Waite's. Brilliant.
And tell everyone what you had, Kelvin.
Mince and dumplings.
Aye, man. It wouldn't be. You know, you're in the northeast. You've got to eat mince and dumplings. Andrew's shaking his head. What's going on, mate?
This is weird. Is there some sort of like Sunderland social media thing happening? Because there's another. Everybody's coming in, walking in through the doors tonight. We've seen all sorts of various people. Hello, gents. Hello. Is everyone all right?
Yes. Well, I think it's because today is the launch of a new restaurant here in Sheepfolds, Andrew, which we can see to our right. It's a burger place. So I think it's a soft launch tonight. So if you're hungry after this, you know, go and grab yourself a burger. There's a free plug for you, heard. No, it looks actually really nice. I'm just looking through there now. You can see all the nice lights and tables. Yeah. Oh, well, we'll see how it goes for them. Anyways, yes, unpopular Sunderland opinions. Now, as James says, I've got tons of these, but because I'm the man holding the mic tonight, I might keep mine in my back pocket till the end. Because one is might pinch it. That's the other part, you know.
Okay.
Nothing worse than somebody. Yeah, nothing worse than somebody pinching your point on a podcast. Is because you're sat with your phone out, James. I'm going to come to you first. So, an unpopular Sunderland opinion of yours. Let's go, mate. What you got in your mind?
So a lot of people think that Big Sam Allardyce is like the saviour, looking back at that year that he did, and you can't deny that that's true. That year was brilliant. Like when he ended it with a win against Everton, obviously beating the Mags again, like getting his blazer off and celebrating in front of the Roker and all that was class. But then that summer that happened just tainted the entire memory of him for me. Specifically, I was down at Hartlepool away when he left at half time to go and get the England job. And I completely understand wanting the England job. Like, why wouldn't you? But it's the fact he left at half time, left us in the lurch. And that for me was kind of like the first sign of the first domino almost of the relegation that season. Mm-hmm. And I think, yes, he did great that season before, and you cannot deny that. But like I just said, everything that happened in that summer, and particularly leaving at half time, leaving the players, leaving the fans, didn't say bye, just got yourself down in the A1, went down to London, went down to see the FA, just put a bad taste in my mouth about basically his entire tenure, even though I remember it vividly at the time. Like, I loved it at the time.
So your unpopular opinion is that Big Sam wasn't all that?
Pretty much. He was all that at the time, but everything that happened and everything that he did, maybe it's a bit of a revisionism, but it just kind of, I don't know, I just don't look at it as fondly because I feel like that was just the first, like I say, the first domino of relegation. And then obviously Moisey came in, one game, serenaded himself at Rotherham away when Zogbia scored on that one game. And then... What
about that? He was captain that day, wasn't he, in Zogbia?
On trial, captain. It was his last day of his, like the last game of his trial.
And that pink strip as well.
It was horrible. It was just, everything after that was just utterly shit. And then, like, I remember it was a lovely day out as well, Rotherham. It was one of those grounds where they open the concourse at half time, so you can go out in beautiful sunshine, absolutely burnt to bits, watching the match. And then 2 games later, Moyes is like, we're in a relegation battle just after we've lost against Borough, and it just went from shit to shit from there.
So really, everyone was blaming Harry Kane for taking corners for England, Andrew, but actually, Sam's to blame for that relegation, is what James is saying, I think.
Well, this is tricky because I think for the pod we're meant to now jump on him and tell him he's talking rubbish, but I can see exactly where he's coming from. I know Kelvin's not a fan of Sam Allardyce,
I'm not a fan of Sam Allardyce, but carry on, Andrew.
No, I could just see you rubbing your hands.
I'll tell you what, we'll wait. We'll let him get wound up a bit more, and then we'll uncoil him in a second after you're done.
Set him away. I loved those first few months under Allardyce, but yeah, when he went, it just went south. And there was 1 or 2 players as well who'd clearly allegedly been promised new deals and all sorts, because was it Kone was wanting to pay rise, somebody else, Gav's shaking his head at me now thinking, what are you doing to me here? But there was a feeling that some of those players were promised the earth by Allardyce. He's gnashed off. And then everybody at the club's just kind of thinking, oh, bugger, what do we do now?
And then there was a bit of panic set in with, you mentioned Kone. The £24 million we turned down from Everton, that still doesn't sit very nicely with me. But Kelvin, you're not a fan of Allardyce. That goes back to his playing days, though, because I've heard you on the On This Week pods talk about Allardyce, and you were never a big fan of him as a player, either, were you?
Well, I saw him as a player, and I wasn't his biggest fan as a player. When he came back as a manager, a bit like what's just been said, I would say I enjoyed the way this season panned out with him there. I certainly celebrated with him in the Stadium of Light.
You ripped off your jacket as well, didn't you? You started beating your chest.
And beating my chest, and no, that was all really enjoyable. It was just what happened afterwards, and how he left us, which James outlined there, and the state in which he left us with players and contracts. It was the aftermath for me that I thought he was better than that. And he wasn't. I think he had promised players things. I think some of them players down tools. It left us in a right mess, and it left us, in essence, with David Moyes.
Well, it's interesting actually that this has been raised, because it wasn't that long ago, I think, Allardyce did a big talking in Sunderland as well, and I'm not going to bleed into my one pick that I might, if we get time, raise, but it kind of, there's something very similar for me in this, where around that time we kind of gave players God status who were nowhere near that, and I actually agree with you. It's as Andrew said, we're meant to be trying to say no, but I think people listening to this might have heard you introduce that and went, no, you can't say that about Sam Allardyce. But I think, James, this year has taught us a lot about what to actually value when it comes to Sunderland. Because I'd forgot what good players were like. I forgot what good managers were like. And then all of a sudden, I now understand. And then I look back at some of them times, I'm like, you know what it is? It wasn't actually all that good, was it? It was like, even the Allardyce season, if we're being honest, if you look at that first portion of it, ignore the Newcastle game. That was his second game. Yes, he won it. Fantastic win. But if you look up until the point he got players in the January, the results were poor, actually. And he got backed by Ellis Shaw. So, yeah, he kept us up. Yeah, it was a good season. But, yeah, I think I just think there's a bit of there probably are people who think he's God. Like there have been points when we were in the Championship and League One where people were like, get Sam Allardyce back, get him back at the club. And I just never saw it myself, if I'm honest.
No, I just think also, like, to be fair, his character kind of fits well with Sunderland. I think to be Sunderland boss, you've got to be like a big aura about you, almost. Like you've got to have character, whether that's like...
Well, that used to be the stereotype, but then you've got Reggie Slibbery, so it's not quite like that, is he?
I would say he has aura, but not necessarily because he's a big character. He's got that aura because he's the opposite.
Yeah.
The ground that we're standing on has changed here, though, hasn't it? From when Allardyce was the manager.
Yes.
Yeah.
We've now got a head coach. We've now got I keep calling them a backroom team, but some of them are up front and centre, aren't they? When you think of Kasolfi and even Kirill Louis-Dreyfus's role is a lot more, for me, it seems to be a lot more front and centre than what it was previously. Big Sam, when he come in, he was the face, wasn't he? He did everything, it seemed, and I'm not saying that he didn't bring some good players to the club. It was the basis upon which he bought them, and then leaving us, what he left us with was my issue with Sam Allardyce.
Yeah, and as well, I heard him more recently talking about Ellis Short quite glowingly, and obviously he would because he backed him, but like it was like read the room kind of thing, because I think it was a podcast with it might have been Fabio Barini, so he had an ex-Sunderland player on, and he was bigging up Ellis Short. I had no problem with me, I loved him, and all this, and I was thinking, I actually think in the fullness of time you're probably right, but I want the listeners to tell us if they agree or not. So, yes, thank you very much for that one. Let's move on very slightly. Come on then, Andrew. What you got on your list? He's getting his phone out here just to make sure he jogs his memory. Come on, mate.
I'm getting my phone out, but I've just seen Sam walking into the wine bar there and ordering himself a pint of rosé. So he's shaping up for a good night.
He hasn't been to proper pies for a pint of gravy as well, has he?
It might well have done.
Barry Siddle was in there, though.
Kelvin is going to have to be careful, because I was on a record with him earlier today or yesterday. I don't know when it's going to go out, but you were having a pop at Billy Whitehurst. You're making quite a list. You're setting a big target on your back.
You notice he's picking on all the big lads.
I've got that small man syndrome. That's what it is. Yeah. If it's a small guy, I've got no to say. Give me Bobby Kerr any day of the week, man. Yeah.
This is an audio podcast, but for the listeners, when Andrew joked that Big Sam just walked into pit pony, I turned around to look.
Well, after the motley crew that have walked in while we've been here, it wouldn't surprise if he was going to herd for a burger, would it? Nah, I'm only joking. How then, Andrew? Unpopular Sunderland opinions, mate.
Right, here we go. And you and James might not really get the grief this lad used to have, but I think Gareth Hall was a good footballer.
Oh, that is an unpopular opinion.
You were dead respectful. When James was giving his explanations. You've just pointed and laughed at me, Kelvin. I've got my notes here. I'm going to back it up.
Get wrapped in then. Come on. Let's hear it. I'll try and listen.
Gareth. Behave, man.
That's the only response I get.
Come on.
Right.
I'm all ears. I'm going to doctors tomorrow about it.
Right. He is. He's one of the most unpopular players ever. I just don't know why. I didn't see a player who was good, particularly, but I didn't see a player who was bad enough, I mean, look at Kelvin there, like proper sniggering about it. I just don't remember him being that awful. And when you think of the line of bad players we've had over the years, he'd for me be nowhere near like the bottom 10% or so.
He wouldn't be the worst fullback that you've ever.
Well, I'm not going to name names because I will get chased out of town. But yeah, I just. But there you go. He wasn't a fullback. He was a utility player. He was a Welsh international at Chelsea. He played in all sorts of positions.
Yeah.
Peter Reid was desperate to bring him in. Glenn Hoddle didn't want him to leave. You can tell I've been on the archives today, like, although with every sentence I say, my strength of conviction here is fading away. But Glenn Hoddle kept knocking Peter Reid back at first because he wanted to keep him in the squad. He then comes along, he plays a few games in a promotion-winning team, and then he plays 30-odd games in the Premier League. Peter Reid is picking him in the Premier League. Now, I know that team went down, but were really unlucky to do so. I keep looking at Kelvin here because he's the one I'm trying to convince, and he's not shifting. But that team were very unlucky to go down, and it was through a lack of goals at the other end, not because the defence were bad. So that's my feeling. I think Gareth Hall gets a bad rap.
When you say utility player, is he a Gertrude utility player where he's really good in lots of positions? Or is he what we were told Greg Holford's utility player where he's not good enough in any position? I'm not quite sure.
I think he's somewhere in the middle. Somewhere in the middle. Aye. Yeah, I'm not saying he'd he'd get a spot on the bench in the current squad, like. But yeah, just at the time, I never understood the hate for him.
Right.
You know, and to now go back to that, I went back to some contemporary reports in the Echo from the time, and there's lots of references of the fans not having him, but very few references I could see of him having a poor game. I just think he got a bit of a, wrong end of a shitty stick, I think.
Right.
Oh, then what's your rebuttal, Kelvin? And it can't just be a hearty laugh. You've got to have some football opinion behind it.
I've always been a fan that gives a player a chance, and I honestly, seriously, I never boo my own players at the game. I'm try and keep it constructive. I just thought he was really, really limited. I didn't know what all the fuss was about, given that I can remember Hoddle saying, I thought he was being a bit arsey and jacking up the price, on him. That's what I thought I thought there was a bit of brinkmanship going on there. I was pretty disappointed in Gareth Hall after I'd watched him 3, 4, 5 times. I wasn't convinced that he was the lad for us. Never booed him, but I understood why people were booing him and why people were giving him a hard time. I just thought he was really limited as a fullback, which is, I was trying to remember, did I see him playing in any other position? I cannot remember that. I'm not saying he didn't. I'm just saying I cannot remember that. I just remember him standing out there in his fullback position and thinking, who's murdering Gareth Hall today? So that's where I was at with him.
Oh, and then Ross was sat next to us, just randomly. He's here to have a burger, I think, Harry. Do you remember Gareth Hall or not?
Vaguely, but the amount of stick he must have got back in the early 90s was always known. He was absolutely shy, wasn't he?
You won't even know this, but this podcast is Unpopular Sunderland Opinions, and Andrew's Unpopular Sunderland Opinion is that Gareth Hall wasn't shite.
Well, I think he might be in a minority. I didn't see him enough, but the general consensus is that he was absolutely the other way. So,
have you got any unpopular Sunderland opinions? I'll give you a minute to think while we round off this on Gareth Hall.
I'm going to go back in on Kelvin now. I've got the stats to back it up.
Gareth Hall's XG.
Aye. So,
how many goals did he score?
Well, he was a fullback, so he didn't get any goals.
He was a utility player.
He was used as a fullback. He was used as a fullback.
Okay.
This is how deep I've gone into this. In the Echo ratings for the season we got promoted,
right?
He got a higher average score.
You actually count them all up?
No. They did like a running total every week.
The fact that I thought you might have done that says a lot.
Oh, it is believable. He got a higher rating than Martin Smith, Lee Howie, David Kelly, and Michael Bridges. Now, those are 4 players who I think if you asked anybody, and it's mad how many people in the Sheepfolds we're recognising. The amount of Sunderland fans in here we've spotted, if you asked any of them, they would say those 4 players were decent in the promotion season. And then in the Premier League, he averaged 6.48. I know, as I'm saying this, I know how sad I'm sounding. He averaged 6.48 for the season. Dariusz Kubicki, who everybody, I think this was the issue. People didn't like him because he came in when Kubicki got dropped when he was about to.
Right.
He for the season got 6.5.
Right.
So you cannot tell me there's that much difference between the two of them.
It depends. My question would be about who's doing the scoring there. Does Gareth Hall's father work on the paper?
Yeah. It was will have been Graham Anderson. Back in the day.
Yeah.
So you're gonna have a pop at him as well, Kelvin? Are you gonna go in?
Was he tall?
Yeah.
If he was a big lad, I'll have a pop.
While Kelvin answers his phone, you thought of one yet or not?
Honestly, my mind's gone blank. I can't think of any unpopular opinions. Give us make a Smith again off, then I'll what he's been talking about.
Well, James's was that Allardyce wasn't all that. We've had Gareth Hall wasn't a bad player. There's got to be something where you believe it, and everyone else is like, you talk shite, you.
He's got to be careful, mind. He's on
as long as he doesn't mention a current player, he's all right.
Past maybe he's in the 90s or something.
I think you need more time to think. I'm
trying to think of kits. I'm trying to think of players. I honestly can't think.
Kits is probably a good place to start, actually. Is there a really unpopular kit you liked? You didn't like that pinstripe one, did you?
Oh, no. Every time I see it, it's just like all the kits everyone can else wear.
Do I dare admit saying I didn't mind that one either?
I wasn't a fan of the pink and blue stripe we one a few years ago, and the green one as well. I wasn't particularly keen.
I don't think they were unpopular opinions. I don't think they were very popular.
Then you always see them. I don't know if they'll always come back as had some kind of good moments in those kits, but I've just never been a fan of them.
All right. Well, you think did actually remember Liverpool away when that was probably one of the few highlights in that green kit. I think did Khazri score in Defoe away at Anfield? I think we drew with the Mags in that kit. But yeah, I suppose. All right then. Well, Gareth Hall. I want to hear what people think about that actually, because
I don't because I've looked at your faces and I've suddenly thought I'm on my own here.
He's gonna be walking through the town and they're going, there's a lad who thinks Gareth Hall was good.
If it is any consolation, at least everyone disagreed, and Kelvin's initial reaction to burst out laughing means that it is an unpopular opinion at least.
Oh, I've matched the brief. You can't blame us for that.
If we knew more about our sleep, what would we do differently? Would we go to bed at a consistent time or take steps to reduce interruptions to our sleep? With Sleep Score, Apple Watch measures your bedtime consistency, interruptions, and sleep duration. Then, every morning it combines these factors into an easy-to-understand score from 1 to 100. So you'll know how to take the quality of your sleep from okay to very high. Know your sleep score with Apple Watch. iPhone 11 or later required.
This episode is brought to you by Fox One. Watch all 104 matches of the FIFA World Cup live in 4K for just $19.99 a month with 3 days free. Build your own multi-view, choose up to 3 streams, and follow player spotlights. Stay on top of every moment with live stats, highlights, and instant replays. The FIFA World Cup, streaming live on Fox One. Offers are subject to change. See fox.com for complete terms and conditions.
You don't wash your jersey during a win streak. You don't switch seats when your team's up big. And you definitely don't shave during the playoffs. When things are working, you don't change them. That's why when you drink Jägermeister, you drink it ice cold. Anything else? Well, that'd just be bad luck. Drink it cold or don't drink it at all. Jägermeister. Damn, that's cold.
Drink responsibly. Jägermeister liqueur, 35% alcohol by volume. Imported by Mast Jägermeister, U.S. White Plains, New York.
Oh, well then, Kelvin, let's start with you, mate. Or I say start with your first one, if you've got one.
We're still talking about Gareth Hall, or are you?
Oh no, I want to know your. What's been on your mind today.
My unpopular opinion concerns Bob Stokoe.
Take the statue down. Is that what you're saying?
No, I think Bob Stokoe. I think and have heard one or two others say that Bob Stokoe got too much credit for the 1973 FA Cup final victory in the FA Cup final campaign, and that there were significant others who suffered and who didn't get the credit that they deserved because Bob Stokoe took the plaudits.
And that would probably be Alan Bomber Brown, I would imagine, given it was his team that he built and took to the cup final.
So Alan Brown would be one of those people. Yeah. Charlie Ferguson, he's chief scout, who scouted, I think, 15 of the players who played in that cup run, including the young players. I think there were 13 youth players that came up through this Alan Brown and Charlie Ferguson's system. Another chap that doesn't get the recognition probably that he deserves is Billy Elliott, who was a coach.
Not the tap dancer from County Durham. No.
Billy probably would have done that if he thought the club was going to benefit from it. But he wasn't really the tap dancing type, Billy. I think he was, at the time, he was more akin to Billy Whitehurst, Billy Elliott. He was quite a hard character, hard chap. But he'd come back in as coach, and he was the bridge. People might remember that he was caretaker manager when Alan Brown got the sack, and Elliott was the bridge between Alan Brown and Bob Stokoe. Unfortunately, he didn't get on that well with Bob Stokoe, and that went back to their playing days, where, I don't know, I mean, somebody will put me right on this, but I have a feeling, I think I've read a match report that says Billy Elliott decked Stokoe in a game one day, so they didn't get on, and Stokoe never fancied him. So as a coach, but he was very, very popular with the players, and he coached that 1969 youth team that won the FA Youth Cup. So he was a lad that the players had a lot of respect for. He was a bridge between one regime and the other. And I think he was sort of key in lots of ways. He was one of the key components to that FA Cup win. Rarely gets the credit for it. He also was involved in probably the funniest story around the FA Cup that I've heard. And that, if you've heard the Stylo boots story, it was Billy that was blackening everybody's boots. And
also, that was the sponsorship, wasn't it? Where the players all got sponsored boots and hated them, so they darkened their boots and it washed off or something, didn't it?
Yeah. Him and Joe Bolton, the night before the game, blacked everybody's boots. And
can you imagine doing that these days? But night before the FA Cup, oh, by the way, lads, you're all going to have to wear the same pair of boots that you've never wore before. Imagine the blisters.
So I don't want to take anything away from Bobby. I cheered Bob to the rafters at Hillsborough. He was the catalyst. He brought something to it. He brought Arthur Cox in as well. Now, Arthur Cox is a lad that, for me, doesn't get enough credit as well. So unpopular though it might be, I feel like Stokoe took a lot of credit for that FA Cup win, and it was at the cost to Brown and Elliott and to a degree Arthur Cox. I've never seen or read anything from Bob Stokoe that says it might be out there, I'm just saying I've not seen it, that says that Arthur Cox, I couldn't have done it without him, And a lot of things I've read about Arthur Cox, he was the brains behind the operation. He was the man behind the plan against Leeds, the man behind the plan against Arsenal. He, the way that we played at Man City away in that cup run was, letting Hughesy off the leash at Main Road. Apparently that was Cox's plan. So I've never heard anything and read anything from Bob Stokoe that says, I really appreciate what Arthur Cox brought to the team.
It's funny, actually, Andrew, because when you read particularly Stokoe, Sunderland 73, a lot of the players give a lot of credit, and still do to this day, the ones who are still with us, still give a lot of credit Alan Brown for building that team, don't they? And it's almost the precursor to praising Stokoe, and it's almost, I would imagine if you sat them down and talked about it, they would probably agree with Kelvin, actually.
Yeah, I mean, I noticed Kelvin whispered when he said his, just in case anybody came over and had and funnily enough, one of my other opinions is around the 73 team. I think there's lots of stories and opinions and that. But yeah, Alan Brown was loved by, or not loved, more respected by.
I was going to say he wasn't a loving man, was he?
Yeah. But Bobby Kerr, still to this day, won't wear denim jeans because Alan Brown didn't like them, and he sees it as like a wanting to respect the boss. So yeah, he definitely left a huge impression on that team.
Yeah.
I think in terms of personalities, Bob Stokoe definitely seems to have been a manager and a personality that players would like. Alan Brown was a manager and an individual who players respected, not necessarily liked.
Right, I'm going to dive in with mine now, unless Ross has thought one now. Have you thought one or not?
I don't know if how much it'll split the fan base or not, but when we score a goal and everyone bangs on them clapboard things at the back of the south stand, it drives me up the fucking wall. It just kills the mood of a goal. Like when you watch back and you want to hear like the roar of the crowd, especially we're famous for our roar, and all of a sudden someone's banging on it, it just kills like me buzz for it. It's just like, just start the game again, doesn't matter.
It's actually a good point, that. But the thing is, James, me and you have we're a bit sticky on this because me and you have sat on the club's atmosphere group meetings where we agreed that they should put bang boards at the back of the south stand. So we're basically complicit in this.
I'm not sure if it's them ones though, because them ones are like a deep sort of, I'll say baritone noise, but like it's a deep noise. I'm sure I think it's the advertising underneath the boxes where it's like tinny.
Yeah, it is.
And you're right, like it does. I kind of like the idea of it just being like a cacophonous noise that could like intimidate opponents. But at the same time, you're right, it just does sound a bit shit when you just want to hear a roar.
Yeah, don't get us wrong.
Yeah, I can see why you're banging on about that, lad.
Here we go. There's the first one.
No, I guess basically, I just think like there's got to be a better way to like kind of like continue an atmosphere or something. I mean, don't get us wrong, I don't mind them actually trying to think of other things to get it done, but like just as soon as I hear it, I'm just like, it just kills my vibe for the whole goal. Like,
so what we're saying is we need a drum. Do we need a drum?
It's David Bruce back.
David Bruce loved a drum.
Not a drum. When I was a lad and first went to football, we used to have big rattles.
Yeah, bring it back, why not?
Let's get the rattles back.
Yeah, I'm all for that.
Up behind you.
I'm all for that.
Threatened within an inch of your life if you rattled it one more time by the old fella standing behind.
Imagine at Roker Park as well, with everybody standing and packed tightly into the stand. Occasionally someone got a clock round the back of the head with one of them.
Not Kelvin.
Mine is, I don't know if anyone will disagree with this or not. Mine, and it kind of bleeds a little bit into your Allardyce one, is that Lee Cattermole was shite.
Oh.
I didn't like him. I didn't think he was a good character. I didn't think he was a good... You hear this from players at the time, that Cattermole was a good lad, and I'm sure he was. You know, I don't think he was a bad person. I just didn't like him. I didn't rate him. I think of him as... He's the symbol. Him and John O'Shea to me are the symbol of the worst time I ever supported the club. He was never fit. The one good season he had, he stayed fit. He was quality. I'm not saying he didn't have good games. He did have good games, but he was at Sunderland for... God, what was it? It'll have been 8-9 years. You could probably count. It'd be less than 10 good games that he had for Sunderland.
Are you not trying to win further? Throwing dwarfs around in pre-season in Spain, kicking wing mirrors off cars in Newcastle and going to casinos and betting too much is not a good... Like, countries would have been a good role model.
No, nor is playing golf constantly and knacking your hips. But I just wasn't a massive Cattermole fan. And the reason I said it bleeds into your point on Allardyce is that Allardyce gets a lot of respect for like keeping Sunderland up. Cattermole gets... I heard him called a Sunderland legend a couple of months ago. I think he was on a show or something, or a radio station. I don't know what it was, and he was referred to as Sunderland legend Lee Cattermole. If that's the bar for a legend, I don't even get involved in the debate over what a legend is. I mean, I wouldn't have been surprised if he'd got one of them stones over the stadium, honestly, because he's talked about too fondly, and I said gravestone, yeah, and gravestone, and I said it when you were talking before there, but I think the sort of the line for what is acceptable has changed now, and yeah, maybe pre-Labris when we were in League One, maybe he was viewed as like the best of the sort of modern era, which is depressing enough. But the fact that we've got so many good players now who care, because always like, oh, he cares, Cattermole, he gets stuck in, he cares. Well, we've got like 20 players now who get stuck in and care, and I wouldn't put him on the same stratosphere as any of those players. And like, I probably will get pelters for saying this. I think I wrote about it at the time as well. I thought the fact he stuck around after we got relegated really didn't it rankled with us, didn't sit well with us. He was on Premier League money in League One, and probably had his best season for Sunderland in League One, which says a lot, actually. And he did have good games. I'm not saying he was horrific, but I've never liked the way that people speak about Lee Cattermole, and for me, he's just a symbol of struggle to me at Sunderland.
It's also pretty well known that his agent was the one person who protected Adam Johnson and knew about it all, and instigated all of that debacle. After she was gone, she became Cattermole and Honeyman's agent.
Yeah, well, yeah, I suppose you're right. Yeah, that's another thing I hadn't really thought about. But it's the guy was on a lot of money for giving us very little, and yeah, and I mean he's bouncing around the northeast at the minute trying to get a job as a manager. I think he's went for the Gateshead job today.
Mm-hmm. I thought it was Hartlepool, or is that already?
Well, I think they pulled the rug from under him and appointed somebody else. I think,
okay.
But Lee Clark. Yeah. But I read today that he's in the running for the Gateshead job. Good luck to him. I don't despise Lee Cattermole as a person. I'm not saying he was a twat or anything. For me, that whole era at Sunderland is tainted by the sort of the lad culture, the way that I'm not a Paolo Di Canio fan as a person, but he tried to instill standards at the club because there was none, and those players got him the sack, and that never sat right with us and still doesn't. And I'm not saying that Di Canio would have been the saviour of Sunderland, certainly wasn't, but he wanted to put standards in place at the club, and the players had the life of Riley for years, of which he was one of them, and they got away with murder, and we struggled every year, and it was like a big boys club, wasn't it, where they all went on holiday together, on the drink together, playing golf together. You see the professional club that we are now, and I just think him, and not just him, but several others at the time, I just think they should never be talked about as club legends or cult heroes, because they weren't good enough to be any of that, in my opinion. And I see people nodding with us, so I don't know if that was too unpopular.
Yeah. I mean, I was thinking how much I like Gareth Hall when you...
See, I'm not sure if saying Cattermole wasn't that good of a player is particularly an unpopular opinion. I think a lot of people would probably agree with that without putting words.
But at the time, do you not remember how he was talked about at times? It was like I remember people saying he should have played for England. He was never that good.
Nah, nowhere near. Yeah. But one thing I always thought about with Cattermole is I always assumed that he potentially tried to help uphold the standards at the time. But looking at the time anyway, thinking that, but looking back at it without rose-tinted glasses, perhaps he did uphold the standards. It's just the standards at that time were like the nadir of the club.
I quite like what he brought to the team when he was fit. And I think after it was a knee injury, wasn't it? And I never felt that he ever got back to where he was at after that knee injury. I'm not offering an excuse there. I'm simply saying that prior to the knee injury, I thought he brought something to the team. Was he a legend? Not in my book, but a reasonable player in an average team.
And that opinion what I've just given there won't even be popular amongst our own contributors. I'm sure there are people who love Lee Cattermole, and I'm not saying they were wrong. I just wasn't a fan, if I'm honest.
I can see where you're coming from in a lot of those regards. I personally have got a lot of time for Lee Cattermole for various reasons. And one of the reasons why I hold him in higher esteem than a lot of that squad is he at least looked upset when we lost. He at least cared enough to like, I know it sounds daft, to just turn up and show up and put on a shirt. He would often, so many times, play with like pain-killing injections and things like that weren't really well publicised at the time. But he at least put his body out there and put himself at risk of further injury compared to some of those lads who just would cry off for the littlest thing. I agree that as a player, he perhaps wasn't as good as how some people lauded him. I know exactly where you're coming from there, Gav, but I've got more time for him than a lot of people from that era. And good God, as we're all talking about it, that was depressing. And that does just remind you how much things have moved on since then in so many aspects.
I think for me with Cattermole is, I remember when he first signed, we had him in the middle, I think, with Lorixana, and they kind of got off to a good pairing. Like, it was kind of like the real muscle in the middle, like two players who weren't shy to put a tackle in. And I think Sana wasn't here for that long, and as soon as he went, I don't know if Cattermole just was out of favour with a lot of it, but them two kind of really complemented each other, getting off. You just think, we could be onto something here. But you're right, I think, is he a Sunderland legend? Not in my eyes. I mean, he's a good servant, he was there for a long time. But you think you're right, I couldn't really count more than maybe his 10 games, like you said, that like you think, wow, we've got a player, and 10 games over what, 9 year period when he was here, shouldn't really be spoken like a legend term. I think it was just more of he maybe stood out as a good player amongst the period we had over the past number of years when he was here.
I always struggled with the fact that we got relegated back to back, and the captains were him and O'Shea, and I've just never been able to forget that. Whether they were good lads, good professionals, I'm sure they were trying to. The atmosphere at the club was probably that bad that it was difficult to try and steer the team in the right direction. But I just think they led the group. When I think about the standards that Luke O'Nien upholds, and by the way, I'm not saying that this was Lee Cattermole, so I don't want to be accusing him of anything here. But I can remember being told at the time that when Luke O'Nien first came to the club, senior players in the dressing room didn't take very kindly to him doing extras and staying behind, because it was showing them up a bit when they were going to play golf. Now, I'm not saying that was Cattermole, don't take that out of context, but that was the atmosphere and that was the environment that was created at that time by those players. And and now I look at us now and I see Luke O'Nien to me is like Sunderland God. He'll never be topped for me. And that's because of the standards he's brought to the club and his willingness to get fit, to be available at all times. And to me, that's a proper leader. That's a proper legend. And there are several players I could chuck in that. And I'm not just picking on Cattermole here. He's just the subject of this particular point. But I think the standard for what is a proper Sunderland player has been redefined.
Yeah, you dug yourself out of a hole in one there, Gav.
Well done.
What I would say is the mention of Lorixana and Cattermole reminds me of there was a guy that used to sit behind me in the ground when them two were playing together, and whenever they came out, he used to shout at the opposition midfield. They'd see them coming out and he'd be shouting, you're into the bear pit today, son, you're into the bear pit. And he was right. At that time, was there a more aggressive midfield?
Tell you what,
that time.
Yeah, that version of Cattermole was night and day to the one that we ended with, unfortunately. He was hungry and ambitious and possibly could have went on to play England because he was seen as he was the captain of the under-21s, wasn't he? That was a very different Lee Cattermole to the one that we got at the end of his Sunderland career, but a lot of that was to do with injuries and just the probably being brought down by the amount of crap he'd been through, really.
I do think there is an element of that. He was kind of dragged down because when he was fit, he was actually more than just a hard tackler. He's actually quite clever on the ball at points and could pick a decent pass. Just something you mentioned earlier with you saying John O'Shea as well. I think those two perhaps were trying, and they were being let down by players around them, is how I saw it. John O'Shea used to get a lot of flack at the time as well, I remember. So again, that might be an unpopular decision, me backing them up. But they at least fronted up. They at least spoke to the media. They at least looked as if they gave a toss. I'm not saying their best performances were in Sunderland shirts, but I can at least have a bit of respect for them compared to some of the others who just 5 minutes after the game, they'd be in the shower. They couldn't give a nick if Sunderland had lost or not. They at least had some sort of passion and respect for the fans. I can understand the question marks over them, but I would give them more of a pass than a lot of the ones around that time.
O'Shea in particular, to be fair, like we've heard in the past, O'Shea was almost the one singular thing keeping that squad together in the sort of championship relegation season era. Like he was he was the one who drove the standards. If it wasn't for him, by all what we've heard in the past, by all intents and purposes, the squad would have just dissipated and turned into like even more of a disaster than it already was. I think the thing with Cattermole is like I've always, like I say, looking back at the time, I always loved him for like what I assumed was like driving standards, what I assumed was like his heart in the game and being the sort of leader that we all needed. Looking back now, what we've got now with Granit Xhaka, Luke O'Nien, and the people behind the scenes, the culture that they've created, everything that's went on at the club for the last 3 years, it's kind of laughable that I thought that, because I honestly think I thought that because he just took his shirt in and pulled his shorts up.
Yeah, well, let me know if I'm wrong, listeners, but I think that's a good place to round things off for this episode. I think we need to keep some of these in our back pockets, lads. It's an excuse to get together and have a pint, because I've enjoyed this. But thank you very much, everybody. It's been a pleasure sitting with you all. We'll when we turn the mics off, we'll keep cracking on. There'll probably be more coming to mind, and we'll be like, I should have said that. I've got a feeling it's going to get noisy in here, because we are sat in Sheepfolds on the night of the World Cup starting, so the big screen's about to come on, and people are going to be out with their burgers and pints in a minute.
One thing before you go with regards to Lee Cattermole. My younger brother, he's 10 years younger than us, and I've always gone to games with him. Him and I are Sunderland supporters in a mud blood house. I've got two brothers that are Newcastle fans. There's a bit of info. And I always remember saying to him one day, a long time ago, I always used to think of myself when I played football. I used to think about that I was like Jim Baxter, like. And he turned round and said to us, more like a poor man's Lee Cattermole, son.
Or Gareth Hall.
Hey, not that
bad. Cheers, lads. It was great, that. And thank you very much, listeners. We've got loads on the feeds already. We are going nowhere over the summer at Howie the Podcast. We've had an episode out every day since the season ended, and we will continue to do so right through the summer. We've got loads and loads coming up as well. Make sure you head over to rotoreport.sbnation.com for all your fan-written content every single day. And after social media, we'll be back with another episode tomorrow. See you later.
You can't reason with the sun. Trust us, we've tried. This summer, it's time to put that angry ball of fire on mute. Columbia's OmniShade technology is engineered to protect you from the sun's harsh rays that can burn and damage your skin. The sun is relentless, but so is our gear. Level up your summer at Columbia.com to spend more time outside and less time slathering on aloe lotion. You're welcome. Columbia, engineered for whatever.
Athletic Brewing Company crafts award-winning non-alcoholic beers for those who want to be part of every round. With over 185 flavor awards, they're exceptional NA beers that fit your lifestyle and any social occasion. Summer's full of good times, and Athletic fits right in. Go to athleticbrewing.com to have brews delivered to your door, or find them at a bar, restaurant, or store near you. Near beer. Athletic Brewing Company, fit for all times.